Hey, it's Despair Mode, and I'm playing Undertale again for the first time in a long time. I was playing a little bit over the past couple of years just to stretch my Japanese skills, and to catch the kind of incredibly nerdy localization decisions that Toby has spent the years since he was doing Undertale caring about. It's interesting that Toby has not moved on from Undertale yet, but that all of the additions that he has made to Undertale in the intervening time have been positive and helpful and opened it up to new audiences. I mean, I don't want to draw any comparisons here to any other video game developers who might have come from the same community. Anyway, so in what is an extremely useful coincidence, the Japanese language playthrough that I was doing ended exactly at the same place the last Despair Mode video ended, which means that it's time for me to go on a date with Papyrus. I genuinely don't know if I have any additional insights to talk about, so this is going to be a journey that you and we are going to go on together. It's interesting how these jokes have now become so much a part of, like, the background noise of the culture that I'm a part of, that it's impossible to find them funny anymore. Like, it's impossible to interact with them. Hey, here's a fun little Easter egg. Let's do this. Let's do this one. Oh. Gotta be more on the ball about that. Let's get him in the middle. Hey! Nice. I can fit more bones under it. Take a look-see. It's been interesting. It was interesting. Multiple Let's Players who I saw play this game chase the dog. Tried to chase the dog out of the house, assuming that was a side quest that they needed to do. You can't chase the dog. You can't interact with the dog, you guys. So we're going to skip past the sock joke and the couch joke and the other jokes, because there aren't any jokes in here that are the kind of joke that we're interested in talking about, which are the structural jokes rather than the explicit jokes. Yep. There is one structural joke in this whole process. There's just this joke. He doesn't have hair, he doesn't have skin. This joke. Just like, I know what kind of filthy monsters you are, target audience of this game. And boy, was he correct. Yeah, let's dating start. So the structural joke of the date is that dating and combat have exactly the same UI. Plus or minus the dating HUD, of course, but it still involves ripping your heart out and putting it into an imaginary two-dimensional medium. Doink. And it is in fact Monday morning here, although it's raining out, so yeah. Almost got it. Yeah. No. Fortunately, it only says to ask. The best joke in the game about morality systems continues to be a thing, as none of the decisions that you make over the course of the game with a yes or a no ever mean anything. In a second, wear clothing, the bladed. Oh. You're wearing clothing right now. The other day, you're also wearing clothing. Oh. I've damaged him. These are such good jokes, and I've seen them so many times now that it's kind of sad that they no longer make me giggle. Let's take a look at his special clothes. Of course, people with sharp eyes will note the Starman insignia from Earthbound on Papyrus's power armor right there. I don't think that means anything. It's just a thing. Doesn't mean anything any more than the Mickey Mouse pants. I fucking hate it, Papyrus. Your honesty, it shows how much you really care. There's no way to screw anything up. Ever. That's the joke! You get the joke? The way that video games normally portray morality systems is stupid. That's the point that he's making. Because they don't require any work. I'm like Harry H-Bomb yelling about the Fallout games. That's what I am. Alright, right. So, anticipating again the filthiness of his audience, there's no secret to my legs, just hard work and perseverance. You're ignoring that completely. It's a present. It's a present just for me. It kind of looks like brains. That's always been a bit of a problem. I think that when I first saw this, I did think that he had removed his cap to reveal his actual brains rather than a plate of spaghetti on his head. You mean you're letting me have it instead? Because you know how much I love pasta? Boy, is it hot in here, or is it just me? Oh shoot. Human, I'm sorry. I don't like you the way you like me. I mean, I tried very hard to. I thought that because you flirted with me, I was supposed to go on a date with you. Blardy-blardy-blar. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this beyond the fact that it's a nice bit of social commentary. A little bit of dating sim deconstruction. A little bit of gamifying. Criticism of gamifying. You know the drill. He doesn't even have lips. That's not stopped a lot of folks. Yep. It's actually kind of interesting that he does dating this way because it sort of foregrounds a complaint that people might have about this game, which is that it kind of posits that you can change people's mind about you just by picking the right dialogue options. Which is kind of it's a little bit of a pickup artisty kind of a thing, isn't it? Just a little bit. But I think it's interesting how I think Toby is aware of this and lampshades it by putting Papyrus in this situation where what you have to say to him makes absolutely no difference in the outcome of the date at all. That's a good little bit of reflexive self-critique there. Nah. Alright, we're going to skip right past the Sands thing. And get a tutu. Take the tutu. Put on the tutu. Hey. Fall down the waterfall. What does this echo flower have to say? I swore I saw something behind that rushing water. Hey! Players who can dodge all the rocks on the first try don't need that hint. This is so good. The lighting, of course, is the clue that we're in scary undead mode. This demonstrates how Papyrus's reflexive positivity can lead him to doing potentially bad things. Again, you know, mixing up the morality a bit. Because Papyrus's insistence that he can be friends with everybody doesn't actually work out in the real world, unless a superhuman empath, Mary Sue like Frisk, can fix all of the problems at once. It does a very good job of making Undyne genuinely frightening, though. Most of the people who I've watched play through this are, like, get real heebie-jeebies when the lighting goes into shadow mode the second time, this moment having established that Undyne is a scary girl. Or, you don't even know she's a girl at this point, unless you've been paying attention. Her eyeball, just the last thing to fade out there. It's good. So yeah, even tough old gamer types read the signal of that ominous light and be prepared to be humorously frightened by the next thing that she does. Although the next thing that she does is like super effective in creating that effect too. A feeling of dread hangs over me. Thanks for pointing it out, game. Okay, it's these puzzles. The next room has a kind of interesting puzzle feeling in it. I'm gonna have to fight the fucking Merhorse, aren't I? I'm not looking forward to that. Here he comes. It's Aaron! Hi, Aaron. Look at all the abs that Aaron has. If I'm skipping through some new Undertale players' Let's Play, that I'm 100% always here to check in on their first encounter with Aaron, because there's nothing funnier to me than a person who was not expecting to be confronted with a terrifying anthro pickup artist. Coming across one. Like, of course, Aaron's, the point of Aaron is very clear, but, the game, of course, is sure to point out that you can have him learn his lesson just like everybody else. There's no non-redeemable characters in Undertale. All you have to do is terrify him with spooky music. So here's a structural joke. There are three solutions to this puzzle. One of them is obvious. One of them takes a little bit of time to work out. People usually struggle with this one a little bit. And then there's the one that is not immediately obvious, which is this one. And the game makes fun of you for picking the easiest one. The middle one is the right one, and then it rewards you for doing the hard one. Which is, you know, nothing particularly Undertale specific or special about that, but it's a nice touch. Zoot. I just wasn't ready for the responsibility. There's a lone quiche sitting underneath this bench. Will you take it? Take it. You're carrying too much. You aren't ready for the responsibility. I can't take in the abandoned quiche without... There you go. Alright, I think that this is probably an edit point right here. Yeah, I'm going to say this is an edit point. Oh, it's not an edit point. Actually, it is an edit point. I don't have anything to say about this. Okay, I do have something to say about this. It's not an edit point. It's not an edit point! Are you wearing a dusty tutu? Papyrus asks. There is no way of getting out of this situation without implicating yourself, because Papyrus will assume the most inconvenient thing about whether you're telling the truth, whether you're lying, regardless of what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and lie to Papyrus. And then he makes you feel guilty for lying to him. But he will then assume that, and then he will then then he will then lie to Undyne on your behalf. But if you don't, he'll blah 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 blah. You know the whole deal. Here's Washua. Give me the goods! Ow. Washua is rinsing off a pizza. Okay. Now it's another point, surely. Alright, so having been terrorized by Undyne, we go... one of the genuine missteps in the game's presentation is coming up, based on the reactions to it that I get. You're supposed to be terrified that you're about to be caught by Undyne, and then that horrifying sound effect happens, and then she's got Monster Kid. But the thing is, and so you're supposed to like, she got Monster Kid instead of me. The problem is that the combination of that horrifying sound effect and the fact that it looks like she's plunged her fist directly into Monster Kid's eye makes you go, oh no, she's killed Monster Kid, instead of, phew, she didn't get me, she got Monster Kid. And then you have to wait until this point for Monster Kid to show up and turn out to be okay. So yeah, a little bit of an error there, I think, just based on how I've seen people react to it. They can't all be gems. God, I love that animation sequence. Incidentally, Monster Kid doesn't have arms. If you see fan art of Monster Kid with arms, they're wrong. They're just plain wrong. I mean, I'm not somebody who gets particularly legalistic about fan art as a general matter, but they're just straight up incorrect about that. Monster Kid has no arms. This is a fun joke that people miss. Thinking about getting into the telescope business. It's normally $550,000 gold to use this premium telescope, but since I know you, you can use it for free. How's about it? Sure. You look in it, it's all red. You go back, you've got a little red imprint over your eye. It's a very, very old school vaudeville style physical comedy gag, but I think old enough that people genuinely didn't understand. Here's where you get the punch card, which you can use to sequence break the game all to hell, if that's your idea of a good time. I think that it's good that he put that in for speedrunners. I'm sure it was on purpose, right? This is the beautiful, one of the most visually arresting bits of the game, and of course the music for this area is Spear of Justice, slowed down immensely. It's a pair of ballet shoes. Sure. Oh, I'm carrying too much stuff. Ballet shoes don't have any particular salutary effect on your offense, so... This is another edit point. Hello, this is Papyrus. Remember when I asked you about clothes? Well, the friend who wanted to know, her opinion of you is very murdery. A good line. Well, we're not, dear human. Papyrus would never betray you. You said you were not wearing a dusty tutu, so of course I actually told her you were indeed wearing a dusty tutu. A bold-faced lie, which I like because he's a font. That's a good joke. Rather than bald-faced lie, which would have been correct. A bold-faced lie because he's a font skeleton. It's very good. He just wants to be everybody's friend. It's good stuff. Papyrus, the avatar of choices that don't make any difference. Alright, so that was another fake edit point. This is a real edit point. Sorry, Josh. This is the game playing with fake dread again, which is another one of its favorite jokes. Not that this critter isn't actually terrifying, because they are. Hey there, noticed you were here. It's interesting, like, A lot of this game is actually about the correct way to interact with people who are bad at social interaction. Like, how much of the benefit of the doubt you should give them. Like, Alphys is the primary exemplar of that. But a lot of what you're doing when you're interacting with monsters is mediating your impulsive generosity towards the helpless. Like finding appropriate levels of shrift to give people. A common criticism of this game is that it teaches you to give everything. But stuff like interacting with Alphys and with Onion Sun here, demonstrates that you should be, that you can't, like, that there are people who are creepy, and that, like, rewarding their creepiness with an infinite amount of attention, which is what they want, is actually bad for both of you. But some people, you can do nice things for. And sometimes it's worth taking on enormous amounts of personal risk. Depending on how much of the world's content you do indeed want to experience. Miso, miso, misi, mila, siso. Here we go. The constant tension, the tours, the groupies, it's all aggressive tooting. You gotta worry, you know, obviously, like, I was able to dodge all that with no problem. You gotta watch out in life for situations where you are, I'm trying to come so far, but it's time. You both have your own journeys to embark on. You hum a farewell song. You gotta look out for situations where you assume that you can afford to give everything because you're sufficiently advanced that you that you won't actually incur any significant emotional toll on your own business, when in fact you are, no matter how, like, you know, competent and experienced you think you are, you're definitely going to incur some of those problems. Ta-da. It's this thing. Alright. So long, Monster Candy. This joke, the good joke. I'm so, like, well, before we do this, I'm so sad that he felt the need to change the setup for this. In previous versions of the game, you take an umbrella, you put it on the statue, statue plays the theme of a certain goat child, and it is this theme that you're supposed to play on the piano. But in case that you are musically illiterate, if you stand here long enough, it'll give you the sequence. I think Toby thought, because he's a music guy, that this would be a relatively simple thing for people to do. And then saw that a lot of people really, really struggle with this. Like, it took me a couple of attempts the first time I did it. But it takes some people forever, and then they finally get here, and then the dog joke happens, where you are carrying too many dogs, you drop the dog absorbs the artifact, and you do actually get a special thing out of it, but it's very unclear that that has happened, so it just looks like the game has done something incredibly mean to you after you struggled to master the piano for so long. So Toby kind of defanged the joke by giving you the key to the room. By making it unlikely that you're going to struggle for hours to get into the secret room, and maybe only a few minutes instead. And, like, I can understand why he might do that, but I also believe that the sheer savagery of that joke was worth holding on to. Maybe that's just me, though. Maybe it's not in keeping with the spirit of the game. Look at this beautiful sequence. This is one of my favorite little sequences. Monster Kid tramping through the stuff. So you'll notice that since I'm moving at a pretty good clip, I've encountered only 3 enemies over the course of this. 1 Aaron, 1 Washua, and some mold smalls, which I could just have walked away from and may in fact have been edited out. A thing that I really appreciate about this game is that, as a general matter, it pitches its random encounters in a way where you don't deal with a lot of repetitive fights, as long as you're moving forward at a reasonable clip. That clashes somewhat with its imperative to stop and smell the roses and experience all the flavor texts, but, you know. Blah, 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 kids setting up the dramatic irony. We talked in Snowden about how the game teaches you about dogs, and it makes you feel bad for being a murderer because it gives you a series of increasingly cute dogs to murder. This one is someone is actively trying to kill you, but all this encounter with Monster Kid is showing you that she has reasons for actively wanting to kill you. And so this is like level 2 of the empathy scale. You get Monster Kid, who loves Undyne and who's going to be heartbroken if you kill Undyne, and good old Monster Kid. Hooray. So the setup for throughout Waterfall is essentially that you're meant to be terrified of Undyne, but you're also getting all this information as you go on about what a hero Undyne is to all of Monsterkind, and also, of course, she gets to explain to you herself why she wants to kill you and what her impetus is. Terrifying spiky times! This sequence goes on a little long, I believe. That is my critique. Because it's not actually very difficult. There's just a lot of it. But anyway, particularly if you've gotten hammered by any of these sequences, you're feeling like actively resentful toward Undyne at that point. So it's, level 2 of your morality check. Can you be compassionate to somebody who has good reasons for what she's doing and is beloved, but is definitely trying to murder you and has been trying to murder you in really annoying and unfair ways? Alright, I think that this is probably the... Oh, hey, that's interesting. I think this is probably where we're going to call this video. We may or may not continue, depending on whether this gets edited or not. We've reached the dead end. Undyne is going to come and toss us into the abyss. Scary light situation and all. Here we go. I wonder where the platform goes, because you don't see it land. Hard to tell what exactly that platform is in 2 dimensions. Here's your first clue that there's a goat boy. He's got his mother's voice, but it's pitched up high. Initially, you're meant to think this is Toriel, because we don't know that the Goat Boy exists yet. And because it was Toriel who found you. But it's not the same voice. And that's not how your experience with Toriel was. Very curious. Very curious. I don't think the game does a super good job of setting up the revelations that happen at the end, but at least there's some attempt to do so. Which is incidentally very akin to certain dream sequences you have in Mother 3. Yeah. Endless cycle of worthless garbage and all. So, alright. This is where we're going to call it. We're going to pick up the next episode after the dummy fight, because I find this fight incredibly tedious. Alrighty, Bo. You asked for it. You may or may not have gotten it. Cheers.